Hi, welcome to Church for Skeptics. I'm going to read a lot of what I'm going to say to you just so it's short and succinct. So I want to talk about what it means to be a human being. On naturalism, which is the idea that only nature exists, everything happens by natural means. It's the same idea. It's the flip side of materialism, which means that only matter exists. So if only matter exists, then everything that happens naturally. And of course, on that view, human beings are not special at all. We're just an advanced, I guess we could say advanced, evolved species, no more valuable than any other. So that's conditioned, that naturalism is conditioned entirely by the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, on this view, uh, guys like that are materialists, like Daniel Dennett and Edward Slingerland, even Richard Dawkins, professor at Oxford, retired, I think. Remember, all that we are as human beings is matter. We are physical atoms made of chemicals, and there's nothing else. And so the idea here is there is nothing else because nothing else exists. If matter is all there is, then nothing else matters. um, So this entails that view of materialism. Of course, that would be atheism, no God. That would have to reasonably entail the complete negation of exactly what it means to be a human being. Namely, and I'll give you some things, and these are the most important things. These are what make us human beings. So we're talking here about personal consciousness, or personhood. We'll start with that. That we live our lives as persons. We talk that way. I, you, me, and so we live our lives that way. That we are persons. We live our lives in consciousness. That means we're aware of ourselves, or myself, and we're aware of each other and the surroundings around us. So we also then, as human beings, have the ability to make choices apart from those things that are determined by natural causes. Of course, the natural causes do affect us greatly, but we still have the ability to do otherwise. That's what free will means in a philosophical sense. The next thing that makes us human is the ability to reason. I'm going to say this rightly, I hope. The ability to reason according to the rules of logic and to come to conclusions. So, and we do this constantly. Uh, because if this is true and that's true, then that must be true. That's just modus ponens, whatever it is. But we do it all the time. And then finally, to be human being means that we have a sense of right and wrong. We could call that a conscience. We might have different details about what's right and wrong, but we all have this sense of what is right and right or wrong, and we want to declare that same sense of right and wrong with others too. We'll finish up with that in just a bit. So the naturalist, Daniel Dennett, Richard Dawkins, etc., they must account for that human experience completely according to the laws of nature, which are chance and evolution, that is, mutations in DNA and natural selection. Well, the truth is, even 99%, I'd say, of atheists can't account for those human experience things according to natural causes and evolution. And so, the great majority of them have chosen to eliminate that our human experience as illusions. Um, that's remarkable, isn't it? So what they will say is we don't actually have a person. We're not a person. We're not some one. We're something. and we have no consciousness. That's just an illusion. We have no free will to make choices. We could not have done otherwise. And parenthetically, let me say that if that's the case, if everything is determined by natural law, there's no such thing as human responsibility. We can't do anything other than that which we are hardwired to do with our DNA and our response to human forces, or not human forces, but natural forces. If the great majority then will also say that there is no reason. There's no reason is an illusion. Now that's a puzzler, of course, and of course they would say conscience is nothing but natural selection, sort of a altruistic gene. Daniel Dennett, the philosopher from Tufts University, compares human beings to zombies. Now you realize zombies are sort of a mythical television or movie person. It's like everything that a person has, except he doesn't have a soul or a mind. He only has a brain and physical instincts. Well, that's exactly what Daniel Dennett says we are. We all really are zombies. Now, I want to give you three ideas in conclusion with this. Number one, no one can live as if materialism is true. We all live, every person, no matter what their worldview is, they all live as persons with a self-awareness, and they make choices they could have made otherwise, and they're constantly adding up premises to reach logical conclusions again. So they're not determined, they can't live that way. And we all live as if there are some things that we should do and some things that we should not do. And if a person doesn't have a conscience, we call them psychopaths. We know there's something drastically wrong with a human being who should have a sense of right and wrong but has no sense of right and wrong. He's a psychopath. There's something wrong with them. So that's number one. No one lives as if materialism is true. Number two, if we are completely deceived by the most important parts of our human experience, how could we know anything? In other words, if materialists will say, oh, everything about me as a human being is just an illusion. My personhood is an illusion. My consciousness is an illusion. My ability to make choices is just an illusion. My ability to reason is just everything is an illusion. If that's the case, if I'm that deluded and every other human being is too, how could we possibly know anything, including materialism? How could we possibly know that, even if it were true? I don't think we could. Number three, the worldview, the only worldview that embraces all of the human experience that we've been talking about, is a biblical worldview, Christianity. Why do I say that? Well, of course, number one, it's because Christianity is the only religion, with Judaism, of course, that says that we are made in the image of God. And God certainly is a person with consciousness, free will, the ultimate one with responsibility. He is reason himself. He's called the Logos. And his nature is the basis for what is right and right is wrong and what's wrong. So it's by far the most reasonable answer for the human experience. You know, Romans 1 says that God has revealed himself in his creation. God has revealed himself in his creation, not as his creation, not a pantheist, but in his creation. Well, a great part of that creation is indeed our human experience. As C.S. Lewis said, if we want to understand our existence, we should start looking first to ourselves, because that's what we know the best. And Lewis's idea was to see that we all have a moral code of right and wrong, and we constantly talk that way. Well, I want to add just to that the whole human experience is just common sense. And that common sense, the Romans 1, God shows us himself because of what he made. He made us, And we live the human experience. Everybody lives it. Everybody, think about this, lives as if Christianity is true. And that human experience that we all live points directly to God.